Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for coming out tonight, braving the elements. Lovely April evening. I am Tracy Peterson, Wirtanen, the Chief Financial Officer at Lake Country Power. I get to talk about the really exciting stuff tonight, the numbers. It truly is my pleasure to be here to review financial highlights from the past year, as well as take a brief look at 2023. Our annual independent audit was again performed by Brady Martz and Associates based out of Grand Forks, North Dakota. I am happy to report that Lake Country Power once again received a clean opinion on the annual review of our accounting practices and procedures. Brady Martz affirmed that we are in full compliance with loan covenants and financial requirements set by our primary lender, the Rural Utility Service, which operates under the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Through the challenges of the past several years, Lake Country Power continues to do all we can to maintain our fiscal and financial health with all of you, our member owners, front of mind. I would like to take a few minutes to share an overview of our 2022 financial results. Operating revenues were $108.7 million, an increase of over $13 million from 2021. Increased industrial load and a cold winter were two factors contributing to the increase in our sales. We did see a slight increase in our residential and commercial general service kilowatt-hour sales over 2021, and that includes your everyday electric usage such as lighting, appliances, computers, and so forth. Our demand-side management sales, which include our dual fuel and off-peak programs, also experienced an increase in kilowatt-hour sales from 2021. This increase really was reflective of the colder than average winter we experienced last year. New industrial load came online in Q4 2021, which favorably impacted our 2022 sales as well. The overall cost of electric service in 2022 was $103.8 million. The cost of wholesale power increased $6.4 million in 2022, which was just under 13% greater than 2021. Higher kilowatt-hour purchases and power cost adjustments from Great River Energy, our wholesale power supplier, were factors in this increase. I will add, Great River Energy returned about $1.4 million to LCP in the form of a member refund last year, which helped to offset some of the power cost adjustments we experienced. Our local operating expenses increased about $4.4 million in 2022. That said, our 2021 expenses were reduced by about $2.8 million from PPP loan forgiveness. Additionally, Lake Country Power experienced 4 storms in 2022 that fell under either a federal or state disaster declaration. About $2.1 million in storm costs were included in our 2022 operating expenses, the majority of which are pending potential partial reimbursement from the state of Minnesota. Lake Country Power's geographic service area is larger than most cooperatives across the country. Both the size and geography of our service territory have a direct bearing on our annual operation and maintenance expenses. Like Mark mentioned, our integrated vegetative management program, commonly referred to as right-of-way maintenance, accounted for $5.3 million of our 2022 expenses. These investments in right-of-way are having a favorable impact on our outage metrics and are a very important part of maintaining and improving reliability. Depreciation of utility equipment along with interest expense on infrastructure such as poles, wires, transformers, substations, meters, and all the other equipment we have on our system accounted for about $18 million of our overall expenses in 2022. Depreciation and interest remain a large and constant source of expense for the co-op from year to year and represent direct ownership costs in your electric distribution system. LCP does borrow a percentage of its construction work plan each year, and as we see interest rates continue to rise, we do anticipate we will see an increase in interest expense related to new borrowing. Overall, we did close 2022 with a $9.8 million margin. About $5 million of that was related to operations, and the remaining $4.8 million was non-operating. About $2.7 million of the $4.8 million non-operating was related to our subsidiary companies, largely the sale that took place in January of 2022. As Mark mentioned, Director Kingsley will touch a bit more on that in his presentation. Next, I'd like to take a brief look at capital credits. Capital credits are unique to cooperatives and represent your share of ownership in Lake Country Power. In 2022, we paid back $2.7 million in member equity through capital credit retirements. Our general retirement in December was $1.7 million. $1.2 million of that was directly from Lake Country Power's regular retirement, and about $500,000 of that was from Great River Energy Capital Credits, our wholesale power supplier. All active members received a capital credit retirement, which was included in your December electric bill. The remaining $1 million in capital credits retired throughout 2022 represented discounted retirements to individual member estates. Our long-term goal has been to achieve and remain on a 25-year rotation cycle for capital credits. We have been aggressively retiring these to our members for many, many years, and in 2022, we finally reached that goal and now are on a path to remain on a 25-year rotation cycle for our capital credit retirements. As we turn the calendar to this year, challenges continue, but we do remain dedicated to do all we can to minimize the impact. Our 2023 budget reflects our priorities and represents how we are looking out for you, our members, our co-op community, and the local communities that we serve. We are projecting operating revenues of $113.6 million on energy sales of just under 733 million kilowatt hours, which is a slight decrease in kilowatt hour sales from 2022. A purchase power rate increase was a cost consideration for 2023 that we weren't anticipating just a year ago. That said, a blended rate increase of 7% from Great River Energy is budgeted for 2023. As wholesale power costs make up over 50% of our annual budget, this can be impactful. As Mark mentioned, material and construction costs again significantly increased over the past year, and uncertainty still does exist. We are doing all we can to continue to manage these obstacles to ensure we are providing quality, reliable service to our members. Because of these factors and more, Lake Country Power was faced with the difficult decision to adjust rates in 2023. This was not a decision made lightly, nor was it without serious consideration of the impact on our members. On January 1st, our load management rates increased. This included our dual fuel, off-peak, and interruptible water heating programs. This increase was a direct pass-through from Great River Energy on those specific EnergyWise programs. On March 1st, our general service increase rates increased about 4% or 0.56 cents per kilowatt hour. This change addresses much of the variable cost increases we are experiencing, such as purchase power, fuel, cost of system maintenance, and so forth. Additionally, on March 1st, there was an increase to the monthly service availability charge. For our single-phase residential and commercial members, the monthly service availability charge changed from $42 to $48. This increase addresses the significant fixed cost increases we are experiencing related to our distribution system. Our long-term rate philosophy is grounded in a cost-based rate structure. Finding that balance, it is important to recover enough revenue through the fixed portion of our rate so there's stability, allowing us to manage responsibly for the long term and make investments in the safety and reliability of our distribution system. The cost of infrastructure and all that is entailed exists regardless of how many kilowatt hours a member may use. These costs should be borne by all members. All rate changes were outlined in our January and February editions of the Newsline and are available on our website. Before closing, I want to briefly touch on a new program at Lake Country Power. Home Serve is designed to be a totally voluntary, value-added program to our membership. It fills the gap between the services Lake Country Power can provide to you, our members, and services you may be interested in: warranty, repair work, those sorts of things. There will be several product offerings available. Each will have a different cost component, Interested members can choose from these options. We are currently working through the final details and hope to have the program available to our membership very soon. Once operational, HomeServe will administer and manage the program. And for those who may be interested, there was some promotional information at registration. If you didn't receive it, you can probably grab it on your way out the door.